Sponsored by Anthony Mendez.
AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome back on this great Thursday of August. Coming up on the last week in August, 2018. Kids are back in school. Actually, kids go back to school earlier these days. When I grew up in Brooklyn, as I always talk on the show, we always went back into school the first week after Labor Day. Whatever Labor Day was, that's when school started. Now, I guess because of when we had Thanksgiving break, we were off Thursday, Friday. I guess kids now are off the whole week. I think they get extra week during Christmas and during spring break. So I guess that's why they go back to school earlier now to kind of lengthen the calendar and guess make sure they get enough school days on the calendar, I guess, to get each head paid for. But needless to say, time changes. Time changes every day. What's good yesterday is not good today. This is the Real Estate Report. Tony is out with a medical ailment today. He's at home nursing a bad back. So hopefully tomorrow or next week he'll be back, be able to sit in the chair and deliver this great news that he and I deliver every Thursday. The drive time special, we call it. We've been here now for he's been on the air for 7 years. I've been on the air for 3, from 6 to 7. Never missing a beat, rain, snow, sleet, or shine. You can set your clock by us. We're here every Thursday. Love the people that call in. Love the people that email in. It's a live show. It's a talk show, by the way. So I got to keep talking. My daughter always said, "Dad, you talk too much." I said, "Well, daughter, I'm on a talk show. I got to keep talking. I can't have no, unattended time because it's not like TV where they can see me making facial expressions. They can't see me. They can only hear me. So basically, my voice has to keep people entertained, keep them glued to the station. They're driving. Most of the customers are driving home, relaxing, sitting back in the car. As we always talk, some people are in a self-driving car. You can tune me in. We do live shows. We have shows that we post on the web. We do a lot of different things to keep people in the business of real estate. We talk a little bit of everything. We talk real estate. Of course, it's a real estate show, right? We talk loans. That's our specialty. That's what we do here in the office. We are loan people. That's how we make our living, pay our bills, put our kids through college, set up for retirement. This is what we've been doing. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. Time is seems to be moving so fast. As my favorite time is always clocking. Looking back at the time I started this thing back in August of 1992. A lot of time have gone by. Seen a lot of people come and go. A lot of different products come and go. A lot of things has happened in this business since 1992. Back then there was an A loan or a D loan. There was no such thing as subprime as the recent people have known about. And now there's no more subprime. Subprime is gone. Now we're at QM and non-QM. QM, of course, means qualified mortgage, and non-QM means non-qualified mortgage. So the nomenclature has changed, but the systems are pretty much still the same. We went through a lot of different things in our business, but now we're back to the nuts and bolts of our business, the qualifying, the application, the verification of income, the verification of employment, the verification of assets. And we believe that that's going to help for the long term and the stability of our business. We made some changes after the big boom. I'm not going to mention when because we always talk about it. It's enough time has gone by now where we hopefully that's all water under the bridge, and that bridge, the gap between the water and the bridge keeps getting larger and larger. It's been almost 10 years now, believe it or not. It seems like just yesterday when that whole crisis happened. But we made a lot of changes. The Dodd-Frank bill came out, and the government stepped in and said, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And of course, when the government steps in, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's ugly. But the good thing, I think, I was talking about the good things. One of the best things that happened, I think we went to national licenses. Everybody now doing a real estate loan has to have some type of license. Before, as I mentioned this before, I did a loan for many clients, and then I call that client back a few years later, want to see if they want to do more business. They were in the loan business. Going to 7-Eleven, guy behind the counter is asking me about a loan. Everybody was in loan business during that free loan period that we had. So we came back first, make sure the guy is giving you a loan that's qualified. Just like a contractor. Do some work on your house? Hey, let me see your license. If he's licensed, he has some type of standard. He has some type of ethic. He's got some type of governing body to complain to oversee, rules to adhere to. That's a good thing about licensing, I think. A lot of times people get, I don't know, maybe bamboozled, discouraged about licensing. They're just going to make me do this. Gordon, I've been doing this for X amount of period of time. Well, all we're trying to do is make it consistent so that you get the same information in California as you get the same information in Tennessee and the same information in Florida. You're looking for a real estate loan, you have to fill out an application. I've got to be qualified. I've got to be versed on helping you to qualify. I can't look out for my own best interest and look to pad my pockets based upon your malnutrition of information about loans and how it works, right? So that's why we have a license. That's why licenses is so important. Here in California, we have the the NMLS is the bureau that oversees us, and then we have which we went through another change, as I mentioned earlier. We were the DRE, and then we went to BRE, and now we're back to the DRE. Never understood why they made that change, by the way. DRE means we were the Department of Real Estate. For 5 years ago, some genius came up and said, we're not going to be the department no more. We're going to be the bureau. Now, 5 years later, somebody said, that's not working. Let's go back to the DRE. And we're back to DRE now, I think effective last month. So once again, change is always in the air. We always talk rentals. What's going on in the rental market? Rentals part of real estate. Technically, a property manager has to be a licensed real estate broker in order to go out and rent apartments, and because there's rules and stuff that once again he or she has to adhere to. How much security deposit they can collect from a prospective tenant. How you're supposed to process applications. That way, the brown people and the dark skinned people will never get the applications. Who comes first? Credit reports, what you can and can't charge for. When the person's turn their keys in, how much time you have to give them the security deposit back. These are all rules and laws that, once again, the property manager or the landlord or the owner, whoever it shall be, has to adhere to when they're taking your money. If they're claiming that they're in the business of rental properties, renting to the public. Anytime you're doing something to the public versus private, there are different rules. There's certain things you can do in your own private house, for example. Let's say you want to rent a room. We're going to talk about that later. Versus if you want to rent an apartment downstairs. It's the difference. You rent an apartment. You're in the business of. You rent a room in your house. You're being convenient or you're accommodating. Different rules apply on the different situations. We're going to talk some emails. I got some great emails to talk about. Every week we're on the show, we're on the air for an hour, and this is the fastest hour in my life, I can tell you that much. I look at the clock at 6 o'clock, and I turn around 10 minutes later, it's 6:55. Time really moves fast when you're having fun, doesn't it? But anyway, emails, we get emails, a couple of great emails, topics that we talked about last week. A few people emailed in some scenarios that we always talk about, and man, I can't wait to get some of these emails because they're juicy. So at least if you got a rush, just make sure you stay tuned to hear these emails because you're going to say, boy, these guys know what they're talking about. These guys are true professionals. We talk local market. Local market means all the cities and the counties in the Bay Area. We have a lot of cities and counties that make up the Bay Area. And the Bay Area is now seen to be growing because as real estate has become so popular, we start to extend our boundaries. We start to create, stretch those metropolises out where the big cities start to reach the smaller cities and the smaller cities run into big cities. We go out to Oakley and Brentwood and, Sassoon and Fairfield and Los Gatos and Gilroy and, all those parts of the city we actually reach. Our area has actually been expanding based on the success of our Bay Area real estate. We always talk, the reason why our area is so popular, of course, we're diverse. That's what I always want to tell you. You want to be successful, diverse. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you work in this, a friend of mine works in Oklahoma City. We were just talking about this, and I told him on Saturday I was actually in his favorite store. And he says, well, it ain't my favorite store. It's the only store in town. That's Walmart. So it's kind of interesting. It's a little city now right outside. There's only one store in town, Walmart. Walmart sells everything from, applesauce to zucchini, right? It's like real estate here. I'm going to talk everything from apples to zoning. It's the same philosophy because, once again, we want to make sure that we, one, educate you, two, let you know what's happening in local markets and what's happening around the nation. What are different people doing differently across the country in different states that have high appreciation? What some of the cities are doing as far as trying to control rent control and trying to control growth. And as we talked last week, there was a place in Australia where you can't. The mayor says you can't buy unless you're an Australian citizen, and it's kind of crazy. But as I said earlier, I think that's a short-term decision that's going to have long-term implications. And a lot of times, when we talk short-term and long-term, sometimes you make a decision today. Let's say you're going to paint your house, for example, and the guy says, "Okay, it's going to be $15,000 to paint your house." And you say, "Wow, why so much?" He says, "Well, I'm going to scrape the house. I'm going to put on 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of Kelly Moore paint." And he says, "Well, how can I get it cheaper?" And he says, "Well, I guess, Mr. Hines, I can scrape the house. I can put on 1 coat of primer, and I can put on 1 coat of Benjamin Moore paint. Benjamin Moore paint might be a little cheaper." And he's down to $10,000. I said, "Okay, I can live with that." Right? And 3 years later, my neighbor, he went with the $15,000 estimate. Of course, me making a short-term decision based on my limited capital, I went with the $10,000 paint job, and all of a sudden, the left side of my house starts peeling. And of course, I called the painter. I'm pretty pissed off about it. I said, "Listen, man, how come his house?" Well, Mr. Hines, he elected for the better brand of paint, and he elected for the 2 coats of primer, which I worked within your budget. I did what you asked me to do, and this is the consequence of the difference in the $5,000. And I says, "Okay, well, now how much to scrape this side of the house and put on another coat of paint?" It's going to cost you $6,000, right? So once again, my short-term decision had long-term implications, right? Real estate is a long-term investment. That's the reason why we have 30-year fixed loan as the benchmark of all the loans in the marketplace. There's all kinds of loans and terms and variations of loans out there, but the benchmark, the steady Eddie, is the 30-year fix because it's a long-term investment. Now, don't misunderstand me. During that 30 years, a whole lot of things can happen, right? You can sell your house and make 100% return on investment during that a specific period of time. Or you can sell your house and not make any money. Not in California, of course, but in many parts of the country, you might lose money based upon just timing. Time is important, right? So a lot of things can happen during that long-term period. But for the overall perspective of life, once you look back at it, you bought a house today, 30 years later, you make your last payment. You bought it at 30. You're at 60. Let's say you never refinance. Now you have a house that's free and clear. You're getting ready to retire. You no longer have a house payment. The only thing you got to worry about taxes and insurance money now because you're not working. So it all works out in that formula. That's the formula that's been laid out for us. But a lot of people always try to shortcut and cheat the formula, of course. And some people cheat it well. There's a lot of investors I know that made a fortune in real estate in the short-term market. And then there's some that don't. Boy, that my signal is on that we're almost at the end of my important opening speech. So don't touch that dial. Stay tuned. I'm coming back and pick up exactly where I left off. Long-term investment. Gordon Hines, Real Estate Report, Thursday, 6 to 7.
On AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back. The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. As I mentioned earlier, Tony's out today with a little medical setback, and he'll be back in his seat right across from me next Thursday, on this illustrious Thursday, August 23rd. If today's your birthday, by the way, I just thought about that. Every day is somebody's birthday. So if today is your birthday, and nobody has said happy birthday to you, at least I said it. I'm on the air, so happy birthday to you. I wish you happy birthday on the air. So many, many people are listening that I wish you happy birthday. Okay, so as I said to you earlier when I left off, I said long-term investment, right? So for long-term investment, we got to talk rates because this is a rate show. That's what we do here. We are in the loan business. We're in the business of lending money. We're in the business of helping you to get something financed, helping you become a homeowner if you're a first-time homeowner, help you keep your investment portfolio if you're an investor, help you stretch in that portfolio, help you to maintain that property if you're looking to just do nothing with your property. Sometimes clients call us sometimes about program or rate, and unfortunately I have to say, well, based on where you are, in all candor, even though I hate to take money out of my pocket, I recommend don't do anything. The loan you have right now, you're going to pay off in X amount of years. By the time you look at your costs and there's no real benefit, you're not looking to get cash out, man. Just stay where you're at, and then you're doing well so far. You've maintained your mortgage for this long a period of time, so be it. And that's what we are here for. And I think that's what good professionals do, give good advice. We don't advise from our pockets. We advise for actually the benefit of the client, which is very, very important. And that's why some of the mortgage rules that I was talking about earlier was one of the things that they came out with. When you refinance a loan, the client has to have benefit. We don't want you to refinance your grandmother every other month because you're accumulating fees. It's called mortgage churning. There's no actual benefit to the client. The only person that's benefiting is the person doing the loan from a financial standpoint, putting money in his pocket, being monetary compensated with no benefit to the client. So that's why we always look at those things. A lot of those loans have to pencil out. The payback period has to make sense, unless it's something different where you're taking cash out, you're doing something different. But there's always got to be a purpose for what we do in order for it to be a benefit on the other side to the other party, right? That's an equation. Right? Everything that goes in, something has to come out. The balance of life, as I call it. Nothing in life can exist without a balance. If you don't have a balance, there's no existence. Whatever we do, it has to have a balance. Now, that balance might not come today, but it might come tomorrow, next week, later on down the line. But the balance has to exist for it to actually exist. Anyway, rates, as we always talk about, we have to say what rates are. Freddie Mac weekly survey. Freddie Mac's been doing this since 1971. So for 1971, every week they've been surveying mortgages and publicizing it, by the way. So every week we always like to tell you where the Freddie Mac averages are for this week because it's a weekly survey. And we always like to compare it to where they were a year ago because, we always benchmarking between this year and last year. That's what we always do. Always a benchmark. Always have a comparison. Tax returns. What did you do last year versus year prior? So everything is always got to have a comparison to do it in order to make sense. So it's a benchmark. In order to have a measuring stick, you have to have a comparison level, right? So 30-year fixed this week averages 4.51. A year ago, 3.86%. 15-year, 3.98. A year ago, 3.16. And of course, the loans that is becoming very popular now, the 5-1 ARM, meaning that loan is fixed for 5 years. After fixed years, it rolls into an adjustable after your 60th payment, averaging 3.82% today. If you'd have done one a year ago, you're looking at 3.17. So it's always a benchmark. There's always a spread between the two. We like 15-year loans because they pay off a lot faster. You pay less interest. You accumulate, build up equity a lot faster. We always tell a client if you can afford it, sometimes to stretch, looking back at it, looking forward. I always tell people, when you look forward, time seems so far, right? But when you're looking back at it, it seems so short. So, for example, cousin went to medical school. He said, man, he did 12 years of medical school. It seemed like just last week I was enrolling, but when you were looking ahead of it, oh my gosh. And a lot of people don't go to further education because of the time commitment seems so far ahead. But once that time frame has passed, you're looking back at it. It was just like yesteryear that it happened. So that's why a lot of times is, once again, when you're making a decision, you're making a comparison, you got to make sure you're not making a short-term decision that's going to have a long, drastic, long-term non-benefit, right? That's what I would say. Non-benefit if you make a bad decision. Benefit, of course, if it's a good decision. So that's what we like to talk about every week. We want to give you something to hang your hat on, give you something to understand what we're saying, where it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. What that guy's saying makes sense. I can tell my son that, hey, son, you want to go to college? You got Dad, I got a job. No, you want to go to college? Dad, I don't have any money. Don't worry about having any money. 4 years later, you're going to have money. Now's the time to go to college. Get that education. Education never goes sour. They can't steal it from you. They can't take it back once you get that degree. Oh, man, give me that degree. Oh, you got to pass it back. No, it's all yours for life. Life is really long and beneficial. Once again, that music comes on. That's my time to stop talking. I got to take a breath. I got to drink some water. Be right back. Don't touch that dial. The Radio Estate Report with Gordon Hines and Tony Mendez.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back. Real Estate Report. Gordon Hines and Tony Mendez. That's what I want, actually, in my business. If I can get respect from my clients, that means I'm doing a very good, successful job at what I do. If your client call you for information, that means you're doing a good, successful job. So all we want is a little respect, and that's what she's been singing about. Lost a legend, of course, and heard something one of the office mates in the office, we were talking about her today, and they said, Gordon, do you realize that she died without a will? She died intestate. And I said, well, commonly I would say yes, but I've been around a lot of people, big business, artists, I like to call them. Artists think from a different side of the brain than we do. So it wasn't surprisingly that she didn't have a will because she was an artist. And a lot of times those things are not in their long-term goal. They're creative. They spend time doing them. A lot of them are not very savvy at business. I think a lot of them it's getting better. But for the most part, artists, they think from different side of the brain as far as I'm concerned. So it didn't surprise me that she didn't have a will. But she was worth over $80 million and a lot of royalties and got some kids. And I guess hopefully that's not too big of a fight over the estate. But anyway, going back to, I've got two great emails I want to talk about. And it's one of these emails came from the client who was listening to the show last week. And we did I did 2 loans for this client actually about 2 years ago, and he was always very interested in real estate. He'd bought a 4-unit building, was living in units, renting out the units. He said he bought a house, and he was going to rehab this house and fix his house and sell it. And we talk about this on the show. Matter of fact, we talked about this last week, and that's prompt 10% is the email. Basically, he said he bought a house in Oakland. He bought the house. He had an inspection. He had a contractor who was his cousin. He said that was a mistake he made. His cousin's a good contractor, but he didn't do a very good job of estimating the actual cost of repairs. The repairs were grossly underestimated, and all of the money that I thought was going to be profit actually turned out to having to go into extra repairs, things that I didn't count on once we started pulling permits and once we started tearing down walls. What happened was he ran short of cash, didn't have a granny or somebody else to go to borrow money from, so he went to cash call. You see those commercials on TV, cash call, come in, blah, 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 sign here, sign there, you get money in 24 hours. And he said the commercial worked just like it said. 24 hours later, he had $30,000 from cash call. And he went on and finished the house. But he said now the problem is cash call, of course, is not a secured lender. The payment rate's like 28%, which is outrageous. But at that time, he said, I didn't care what the rate was because I needed to finish the house. House has been completed. House is in the market. House is in escrow to be sold. And unfortunately, there's not going to be enough money to pay off the cash call loan. And he's going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. He said if he doesn't come up with some cash, he doesn't know how long he's going to be able to sustain those payments to cash call. So, yep, that's a rookie mistake. That's why we always talk about if this is your first go around or rehab and get into something new, go into it with a partner. An experienced partner would have seen those pitfalls, would have seen those unforeseen damages behind the walls. Wall is soft, knowing that there's more damage and kind of budget for that. And that seemed like his contractor didn't do a good job. He didn't use a professional. He used his cousin. We always talk about Cousin Vinny. Use a professional. You've got going back to the licensing. You got somebody to hold accountable. Of course, he doesn't probably want to hold his cousin accountable of the licensing issue as a contractor, but that's what you're supposed to do. And he didn't do that. And of course, now he's paying the price for it. And now he's up between a rock and a hard place. So he has a house. I'm going to suggest maybe he can get an equity line on his home to pay it off. He's got a really, very low rate on his house. I already checked out. He doesn't want to refinance it, but that might be his only option to come out to cash to pay off that cash call loan. So he's making a bad situation for him worse, but it has to do it because in order to postpone our inevitable financial ruin, that's what he has to do. But he's got options. So anyway, that segment went really fast. Music comes on. That means it's time for me to take another break. I'm not ready yet, but I got to take one anyway because that's what the music producer on the other end told me, Gordon, stop talking. We'll be back. A Real Estate Report with Gordon Hines and Tony Mendez.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Hey, come on along, take a ride. There's a party over there that ain't no job. It's live, it's all the way live. Don't even have to walk, don't even have to drive. Just slide, slippity slide. Just forget about the troubles in your 9 to 5 and just sail on. That's what you do, just
Welcome back. Real Estate Report. Gordon Hines, your MC. Here every Thursday, 6 to 7, drive time. Enlighten you, asking your questions. This is a live show. Give me a call, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. I would love to feel your call. Sometimes I know people don't, sometimes people are bashful, want to call in. We get a lot of emails. I'm not sure if the problem is time goes so fast, I don't get a chance to get to all the emails, but I still got 3 great emails coming up. But I pulled an article out by the National Association of Realtors. I always tell people when you're going to get information off the web, make sure it's qualified information. There's all kinds of information out there. And there's a great email I'm going to get to about the information. But National Association of Realtors says home prices gain continue to dampen as demand slows down. One of the biggest things they're talking about, slack in demand, is because of inventory of unsold homes. What did that mean? That's what we talked about last week. DOM, days on the market. Once you see days on the market starts to creep up, you know that home prices are beginning to slow down. Inventory, that's what days on the market is. The more inventory there is out there, the longer houses stay on the market, the more likely people start to get nervous, need to make a move, have a home that they're buying, so they need to sell their house. So what does that mean? Price reductions. We're beginning to see a lot of that, right? Price changes. When I read to the MLS, price change, price reductions. So these things do happen. There was a transaction I was working on for a client this week. House got dropped $125,000 from $625 to $500. And I spoke to the realtor yesterday. They were back after the price dropped from $625. They're back. The contract price that they're in is almost at $625. It's kind of interesting dynamic. They lower the price to increase action. So much action because of lower price. And she had 9 offers, and this house now is back to the $625. It's kind of interesting that you had a price drop, got the action. Good strategy, by the way. Works out great for the seller. They were getting nervous. Their new house is about to be completed this first week in September. They're going to start paying a $300 a day penalty every time they don't close that deal. So they did a price reduction, and it actually worked out in their favor. They're back in the contract. Hopefully that deal is going to close swiftly, and they'll be able to, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, make one move, and not be penalized because of their house didn't sell. So these things do happen. Market's always full of changes. What happens yesterday is none guarantee it's going to be tomorrow. Like, for example, the weather. Last couple of weeks, it's been hot, steaming hot every day. Last 2 days, it's been like the Twilight Zone outside. You feel like you're in Fox City. But these things do happen. Change. Real estate, loans, market works on change. Change is very, very important. Change is stimuli. We all need stimuli. That's what change is. Hey, get off your ass, get off your butt. Stimuli, make something happen. That's what change is all about. So anyway, another great email I want to talk about. Last week we talked about this. The second email that came in based on the topic that we talked about last week. Last week we talked about solar panels. Guy emails in, said he was about to sign a solar contract. And he didn't do any research because his cousin did solar panels, so he was going to do solar panels. So he was about to sign a contract. He heard our talk on solar panels. He started researching solar panels, and he started reading all the ads about how great solar panels are. Solar panels are great. He said, but the problem is, as he go down and qualified who put the ads out there, they're all put up by solar companies. So he decided that, well, if solar panels saying good, what are non-solar companies saying, right? What does that mean? So what did he do? He went around his neighborhood and knocked on a few doors and talked to the people that had solar panels on their house. And he said, I got some great ideas that I never knew existed about solar panels. The thing that I was going to sign up for, I was going to be eating crow because I was going to lease those solar panels because that's what they sold me on. I was going to pay this monthly fee to reduce my costs. And he says, I got different opinions from different people. Some people say they wish they never had it, but for the most people say that it is a benefit because it is a benefit. It's going to help you lower your costs, but it's got to make sense. You got to make sure it work for you. He said one thing he never thought about, if you're going to put solar panels in, you might as well have a full electric house. No sense in having a gas water heater, right? Gas stove, gas this, gas that. You got to go out and reinvest now in an electric water heater, right? That's what a solar panel is for. The pool, everything is electric. The pool heater is electric. That way you can get a benefit of what you're investing in so you can actually lower costs and make that work for you. He said one of the best things, the most important thing, the one guy told him, we talked about this, the best thing is to always buy their solar panels if you can. Do not lease them from the solar company. It's like leasing a car versus buying a car. You're never going to own that thing because he said it's 30-year financing. They record a lien on my house that every time I need to do something, I got to go back through the solar company, get a subordination agreement. They charge a fee for it. We go through it all the time as we're refinancing houses, and people never think about it that it's a debt. But we get the preliminary title report, and what do we see? Solar panel lien. Who do we have to do? Call a solar panel company. Get a release, what we call a reconveyance, a subordination. Let our new loan go in front of theirs. They charge a fee, anywhere from $250 to $500, right? That's what they charge. Who they charge it to? The customer. You, the solar panel beneficiary, right? So these things that you didn't think about, but something you have to deal with after you already have the solar panels. That is the reason why we stress talking to professionals, working with professionals, right? Understanding what you're getting into. That way you can make a solid contract. You went into the eyes fully open, not eyes wide shut, right? Education. That's what we're here for. To educate you. Make you make a better decision. Make you a better informed consumer. Whether it's loans, anything doing with real estate. We talk about it all the time. Solar panels ain't got nothing to do with loans, but it has to do with what? Real estate. The Real Estate Show, we talk real estate, we talk loans, we talk rentals, we talk East Bay, North Bay, South Bay, West Bay. They're going to have to get a West Bay pretty soon. That make it balance, right? We talked about balance earlier. We got East, North, we need West to make the balance, the four-corner balance of the different portions of the world, right? So there you have it. Everything you want to know about solar panels, and we're afraid to ask. But you know what? You can always send me an email. I can forward you some different information and some different sites and, different competitive bids. Always good to get a competitive bid because you never know, that bid could be great until you got a competitive bid, right? Some of those bids are they don't cover everything. Oh, that's extra. Guy told me I went and bought a brand new car. Oh, the engine wasn't included. That's why it's such a good deal, right? Engine has to be included in your car, right? Solar panels installation has to be included. Make sure you get all the information before you sign that contract. Glad for that email. And that was Tom from, San Pablo. Well, music's coming on. Time for me to take a breather. I got my energy at work on that segment. We'll be back. The Real Estate Report, Gordon Hines and Tony Mendez. Stay tuned.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you
Welcome back.
around, but those dreams have remained.
Thank you. It's the last segment, so buckle your seatbelts. I'm not through talking yet. Another great Thursday behind the belt. One more Thursday in August, and here comes September. Here we go. Somebody's listening. Anyway, here's another great article. The West continue to lead jobs and job gains in July. Where do we live? The West, right? That's what we talk about. That's why real estate's so popular here, because we've got jobs. That was President Obama's saying, jobs. Well, that's where the West has them. 48 states all have jobs. 2 states in the union have job loss, but the West leads the percentage of gains of jobs. So there are a lot of jobs here in the West. So with employment goes people making money, people buy houses, people buy cars, people improve their homes, people spend money at the stores, and that's why real estate is so important, because as we mentioned on the show many times, real estate is the biggest item that has the most related sales items attached to it. That's the reason why it's so important to cities and states, to economies. Property taxes. That's where money comes from to fix the roads and hire policemen, firemen, all that kind of good stuff, right? All those fires that are fighting right now in California, tax dollars pay for that, right? That's what real estate does. Moving trucks, cable, new clothes, new furniture. People throw out stuff when they move. Man, I get rid of that stuff. Get new TVs, right? Best Buy starts moving. Buy paint. Home Depot starts rocking and rolling. Right? Throw out the old drugs in the cabinet that's been there for years that are all expired, and finally throw them out because they're not moving. Go buy new aspirin at Walgreens, right? So when we real estate, we sell something, a lot of other people benefit. right? I can't think of any other business where more people benefit than what we do here in real estate. So I say that to say what? What I do is important, right? Loans. I'm helping people buy that American dream. I'm an important man. I just want to, like Aretha Franklin said, I just want respect. Respect me for what I do. Respect me for the advice and the knowledge that I have, that I can give to you, help you to make a better informed decision as a consumer. That's what we talk about. That's why we do the show. That's why, otherwise, there's no reason for us to do the show, right? That's why people tune in. That's why people send us emails. 516-800-516-1220. It's too late now to call, but you can call now for thinking about calling for next week. Be one step ahead, right? You always got to be one step ahead of the game, right? You're the guy who's prepared. The early bird catches the worm. So you just put that number in the phone for next week. You didn't get a chance to call this week, and we'll listen for your call next week. Or send us an email. Tell us you're going to call next week, right? How about that? Tell us how we're doing. Is the information I'm putting out there valid? Does it help you? Is it not sufficient? Is it non-sufficient in some shape, form, or fashion? That's what feedback, right? Feedback makes us do better. You know, that's why we take tests. It's a benchmark. Right? Everything I'm talking about today goes back to same tune, right? It's a benchmark. It's a mark. How are you doing? Is the education, the thing I'm teaching you, sinking in? That's why we take a test, right? Policemen. That's why we have policemen in our business. Hey, Gordon, you've messed up on this person here. You have to pay a penalty. Your license might be in jeopardy. That's why we use with professionals, right? All comes back to the same topic. But as I said earlier, this is the fastest hour in my life from 6 to 7 on Thursday. Hours coming up. The guy's singing on the other line. I can hear it coming. Music be on. And we'll be back next week for another great show. Tony is going to be back. You know, he had a little medical setback this week. Couldn't sit down in the chair. I guess he could have stood up. But who knows? Sometimes when we stand up. I used to stand up a lot when I used to talk on the radio. But now I sit down because I guess standing up, he's telling me, Gordon, man, that makes me nervous. So I guess he felt that if he'd come and had to stand up and do the show, it'd be making me nervous. It probably won't be. It probably make me excited, but not nervous. But once again, music is on. Time to say goodbye. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel. Thank you for listening. Gordon Hines and Tony Mendez, The Real Estate Report.
GOP.